I think it's interesting indeed to have this equity fund and finance the entire movie, because what you see a lot with film financiers is that they okay, so there's the pre-sales they finance, so you will be paying like around 10%, maybe a little bit less, sometimes more, just for the debt. And then they have the gap, which you will be paying like 15, 16, 17, 18, 22%, whatever. And then they just merge it into one loan facility, and they charge you like 18% for everything, right? That happens everywhere, right? So that's a lot of money you're spending. Your cost of finance is gigantic. The executive producer fees on top of that, the closing fees, 2%, whatever. That's going to be all added. So in your model, you're going to get rid of all that, and that goes straight to your investors, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly how it's designed. It's to eliminate as much of that as possible. It's just how do we clean, and really was just looking at, because the number one when we were looking at sort of those traditional models, the number one sort of, I guess, a complaint was that the waterfall, it just doesn't make any sense, at all from their point of view, especially if the goal is to, when you're trying to bring in an investor on that individual level, right? So there's plenty of investment funds that invest in films, but they're investing in 20, 30, they invest in films the same way a fund would invest in 30 startups. They're investing in 20, 30 films a year because they're looking for that 1-2 hit. So that risk is of course diluted. But if you're looking at an individual investor level, it just doesn't make any sense. But if you are, obviously if you're a film fund or any kind of, financer like that, and you're investing in, again, 20, 30 films a year, you're okay with those models because it all in essence even out. But on an individual film level, it doesn't make sense. On a kind of a slate, just an individual slate level, it just didn't make sense in the waterfall. So the goal was, okay, how do we clean that up as best as possible? And still obviously it has to make economic sense. It's not just on paper, this looks good. You have to obviously, we have to test it all and do our due diligence and ensure, and work with legal and accounting, et cetera, to make sure it all is going to line up the way it should. But yeah, it was to clean up all of those issues.